Hey guys, and welcome back to Gunpla Building. Well, we're nearing the end of this build finally. I hope you guys have been enjoying the series. Here's just a closer look at the how the kit's coming along so far. It's weathered how we wanted to weather it, which is not that much, just some chipping around the edges. Because it is a space mobile suit, I didn't want to do anything like some rust or something like that. But there were probably some versions of that I could have done, but anyway, this was good enough for now. Didn't want to make it too weathered. And so it's time to do some decals. And actually, you can, between weathering and decals, you can actually do one before the other. It's really up to you, and you can do them mixed. I think depending on the amount of weathering that you want to do, like if you want to do like heavy weathering, then you need to do maybe some like base weathering first, then some decals, then you need to do some weathering on top of the decals because that weathering is going to affect the decals of the kit, right? But for the level of weathering that we wanted to do, which is basically just adding a little bit of like chipping around there, I don't think that's going to affect anywhere where we wanted to actually have the decals, so we will be alright with just doing the decals later. And if we really need, we can touch up by weathering the decals a little bit later, but I don't think we're gonna need to do that. So, decals, there are a few different kinds. There are Waterslide decals, which you need to use water, and a combination of some other solvents, which we'll get to in a minute, because that's what we're going to be covering today. And there are also just like some stickers and foil stickers and things like that, which are pretty self-explanatory. You basically peel them off and stick them on. But I will do another video about those later in the future, just solely dedicated to those, just in case for people who might want to see that. And then there's also dry transfers. Some people really like dry transfers. I personally don't really like them because I just have a hard time trusting them. They don't always go on very clearly. You just have to be really careful about putting them on. I've found that water slides are just much easier. You can just put them on and you very rarely have problems of like breaking the decal or anything like that. So water slide decals are just much easier and for me, so. And they look great. The one thing that's nice about dry transfers is that they are very, very flat, just like right out, just like putting them on. You don't have to add any other kind of solvent or something to make them look like they're just flat painted on the actual kit, like for real. Water slides can be a little bit raised off the kit, so like you can actually see them like a little bit raised off your paint a little bit sometimes, but there are certain things that you can use to help with that. So let's go to my folder of water slide decals I've got here in this nice unicorn folder I got from some Gundam Ace magazine a while back. It's full of water slides in there. I've gone ahead and sifted through those and found the ones that I want to use for this kit. These are a set of just like basic Xeon marking symbols, and then there are some other kind of just random ones too. I've used these for other things already, and actually this set is from Samuel Decal. So just if you guys don't know, I often mention Samuel Decal in all kinds of my videos. He's a great person to order from if you want to get any third-party kits. He also, hence the name, does a lot of decals, so you can get custom-made decals from him, or you can get just all kinds of decals. Check him out on Facebook. He does have a website, but it's kind of old, and like, according to him, it's like being updated, but that's been like for like years, so I don't know. The best thing is just to check him out on Facebook. So he does some of his decals pre-cut and some of them not pre-cut. Hang on, let me grab up some. Alright, to show you the difference between pre-cut and uncut waterslide decals, water slides that are not pre-cut, like these here, the decals are on there which are white, so they're going to be kind of hard to see except for these two Londo Bell ones there. Not pre-cut just means that the film that kind of makes up the decal, where the decal is printed, is just solid over the whole piece of paper. So that means when you cut it out, you're going to want to cut it out as close as possible, because otherwise, like this Londo Bell logo there, if I wanted to stick that on the kit and I just cut it out square, then this whole square piece is going to be going onto the kit. and that's not going to look good, so I'm just going to have to cut it like really close to the edge in order to be able to put it on without it much edge of the decal showing on the kit. So printing like this is cheaper, but it's a little bit more work when you're cutting out the decals, so that's why pre-cut is a little bit nicer. Now pre-cut just means that the decal is only the place where it's printed, and I hope you can see that. You should be able to see the edges of the decal on the paper, so I hope you can see that. I'm kind of using the glare of the light to try to show you that, and I think I've showed this before in a previous video if I remember correctly, but these are much easier because you can just cut a little bit more loosely around there, and then when you slide the decal off, it's already got the edge of the decal like very close to the edge of the design, so you don't have to do like really super careful cutting for these, which is very convenient, especially when you're doing a lot of them on something like a Verka kit where you don't want to spend like weeks cutting out decals very closely. So anyway, we're going to be using these for this kit, and also going to be using these. These are just some X Decal 4 in black. These are made by Wave. There you can see Wave Option System. Wave is just a company that makes some kind of detail or like extra parts, as well as stuff like this, markings and waterslide decals, stuff like that. I actually have this same set of decals in a few different colors. I think they print like this particular set in black, white, gray, maybe yellow, orange, a few ones like that. So you can get them in different colors. For this kit I'm going to be using black because the white I think is going to be too light on there. And orange is just, well, actually, would orange look good? No, okay, we're just going to stick with black this time. So probably not going to be using a lot of these letters, I don't think at all, because I think we're going to just use these numbers here for this kit, but going to be using just some of these other kind of generic markings, stuff like that. So that's going to be it. Now I'll show you guys kind of the basics of how to do it. Alright, so just for demonstration purposes before I start putting the decals on the actual kit, just to show you guys, I'm just going to be using some of these decals that are left over from the MC Model Comprehend Cubile. I'm not going to be using these flower decals on anything, I'm sure, so we'll just use those, and then maybe just a couple of extra parts there for demonstration. One thing we're going to need is, I'm just going to use another one of these paint dishes, but this is just for our water. You can use anything for your water. Actually, I brought the water here in a shot glass. You could just use a shot glass if you want, but I just brought that to put the water in there. Put that over there to the side. You can get all kinds of different trays, especially for water slides, but just whatever holds water will work perfectly fine. You're going to need some tweezers as well. I've got a couple different ones here. These are actually Tamiya ones, which are just like slightly bent and very sharp. You can see there. And these are just by GS Hobby, just another kind of off-brand, I don't know, smaller brand. Anyway, these are just also very sharp, but a little bit more curved. Doesn't really make a difference, and they don't have to be so sharp pointed like that. That's just what has worked for me and just what I have. I've seen people use like the more blunt ones, and they work perfectly fine as well, I'm sure, for them. And then we're going to need some more cotton swabs, so plenty of those. And that's pretty much it, other than your knife or scissors, or however you want to cut out the decals. Some people cut them out with small scissors, but I don't really trust that because it's very easy to overcut with scissors. But with a knife I have a lot of precision, and here's where your cutting mat comes in very handy. So first thing we want to do is just choose the decal we're going to use. In this case, like I said, we're going to use this flower one, so I just want to cut out around there. And these are pre-cut, as I just explained. Pre-cut, I don't need to be very careful about cutting very close to the design, just something loose like that is good enough. Now, I'm just going to use my tweezers to just grab that. and I don't want to grab it on the actual decal if I can, because then you run a risk of maybe scratching or breaking the actual decal. I just want to grab it on the edge if possible, and then I'm just going to dip that in the water. I want to make sure it's totally submerged in the water there. Just for 5, 6, 7 seconds should be enough, and you should be able to see the color of the decal change. So the color of the paper, I'm sorry, here you can see the wet one versus the dry one. You can see the wet paper is now a darker blue color. That's typical. As I drop it, it's okay. Then, so I just want to set that down, and I usually just set it down there and let it dry. Sorry, not let it dry, but just let it just sit there being wet for a few seconds, maybe 15 to 20 seconds or so. Don't normally count, but usually what I do is I'll dip one and let that just soak there on the cutting mat for a minute, then while I go and start cutting another one. So then it's just kind of a continuous cycle of like soaking, putting it on, cutting another one, soaking, putting it on, cutting another one, soaking. So it usually works like that. So this we're going to just put onto this flat piece here. Now, okay, here's where what I do differs from what I think pretty much most other people do. Most people are going to tell you to put on a decal like this, where we'll have the part there, and we'll take our decal in one hand, and in the other hand we'll use our cotton swab or Q-tip, and then we just want to use the Q-tip to move the decal off the paper and onto the part, and there you go. Then that's on there, and we've got a few seconds. Then you can move it around if you need, something like that. And if it gets a little bit stuck, you can just put a little water on your Q-tip. Will help to just kind of keep that a little bit wet while you move it around. Say I decided I wanted to move it closer to the bottom, something like that. Then there you go. Now it's set, and no problem. So that's pretty much all there is to it. But there are, of course, a few other things that you can do. You can use some stuff like these. Now, this is Mr. Mark Softer and Mr. Mark Setter. Now, these are made by Tamiya. Right? No, sorry, Mr. Color. And you can use different brands. Tamiya does have their own brand, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure, and there are probably other ones as well. These two are probably the most common, and what I always use. One bottle should probably last you like forever, unless you're a professional modeler and building like literally 24/7. I don't imagine that you would ever have to buy another bottle of these for like 5 years or more. I don't know. So got these. What's the difference? Okay, Mr. Mark Setter basically just helps. It basically just acts as a kind of glue for the decal. It just makes the decal stick to the part better. Basically, like cements it to the part a little bit more. The decal has glue, like a glue kind of agent in it, so it'll stick on its own, but this will just help it stick better. Mr. Mark Softer basically melts the decal if you wanted to put on a decal on a rounded part, like I'm going to show you on this part here in a minute. So the decal will curve around certain edges, but especially if you have like a rounded part like this corner where it's rounded this way and it's also rounded this way, the decal can't totally flatten on that surface without something like this. Alternatively, if you're putting a decal over a panel line, like we have this pretty large panel line there on this part, if I wanted to put the decal over that, using some Mr. Mark Softer will actually melt the decal down into the panel line. So then later we could go in and put some panel line ink in there, and the ink would run over the top of the decal, which would be ideal. So that's basically the difference between these. If you had to choose one, Mr. Mark Softer is much more useful. Mr. Mark Setter is really not all that necessary most of the time, because especially if you're going to be putting top coat on the kit, top coat will seal the decal on there perfectly fine, and you don't have to worry about it coming off. If you're planning on doing a lot of weathering and other like handling of the kit before you totally call it finished, then it might be a good idea to use this. That'll just make sure your decals won't try to sneak off anywhere during the process of working with it. But we're basically almost done with this kit, so we probably don't really need to use this. Another time when it might be good to use this is just on a very large decal, just to because that's something that you really don't want to mess up. So on a couple of really big ones I might use a little bit of this later, but probably just going to be using this because this kit does have a lot of curves on there, so we might need to use some of this. So anyway, I'll show you, just for example, just to go back to this piece for a moment. You can see that piece, the decal is now pretty much dry on there. I definitely still run the risk of messing it up by touching it or anything, so I'm not going to touch it at all, but it's on there, and as you can see, it does have a different shine from the rest of the part. So if you're planning on using Waterslide decals on an unpainted kit and not doing any top coat or anything, just keep in mind that they will show up quite a bit just because of their shine. Now, one easy way to take care of that would just be putting on some top coat, then that'll make sure everything is all glossy or all semi-gloss or all flat, whatever kind of top coat you use. But it is totally possible to just use water slides on an unpainted kit. You can definitely by all means do that. And I guess one thing I should also mention is that neither of these are going to mess up your paint. From what I know, I think I'm no expert on paint, so I'm really the wrong person to ask about this or give advice about this, so definitely do your research. But I think from what I heard, and someone please correct me if I'm probably wrong, these can mess up acrylic paint because obviously they're very watery. Acrylic paint is water based, so you can run the risk of messing up some of your acrylic paint, I think, if you don't have any top coat down on it. So if you're just using this right on your acrylic paint, it might mess it up. But on enamel or lacquer paint, it's going to be perfectly fine. It's not going to mess up anything. No. So, okay, so that's pretty much the basics of Waterslide decals. Now, I want to show you another decal on a curved part now using Mr. Mark Softer, and I'm going to show you how I do decals a little bit differently. So I'm going to take maybe this very long decal that looks like it should be on like someone with a terrible tattoo on their arm. So there you go, just the same thing. Got that cut out. I'm gonna dip it in the water, let it sit there for 5-6 seconds until the paper in the back changes color. It's pretty good. Now, as I showed you before, people are usually holding the decal in one hand and usually holding the Q-tip in the other hand and then just sliding the decal off the paper onto the part. That's really difficult for me, maybe just because I'm not good at using my left hand, or also because the parts don't, I mean, depending on the part you're using, it's not always going to sit flat on your cutting board. So, say I wanted to place a decal like right here on this area just above that kind of vent. It's kind of hard because this part is like kind of rocking all over the place. I could use something to hold that in place, like for example just put an alligator clip on the bottom of here. Something like that. Now at least it's not going to move as much when I put that on. Or you can do, if you have small enough hands, you can kind of hold the part, or maybe if you have dexterous enough hands, you can kind of hold the part in your hand and kind of slide it off like that, which is also quite difficult for me. So a lot of times what I'll do is just take the decal and just kind of set it on my finger there and just kind of push it off the edge a little bit just with my thumb so that I can grab the decal gently with my tweezers and just pull it off, and then rest it over the top. Just put it down where I want it. So I want to put this something like that, and then I can go ahead and just use the Q-tip to move it around or just flatten it down, whatever I want to do. Something like this. Yeah, so that's how I usually do it. That's probably not good because probably just like handling the decal with your fingers, you probably get some oil in the decal or something, and then holding the decal with your tweezers is dangerous because, like I mentioned before, just these sharp tweezers run a high risk of damaging the decal. I'm just being honest with you guys, it's probably not the right way to do it, and there's a lot of risk involved in doing it in that way. It's just kind of a bad habit that I have. That's just how I oftentimes do it. So for that reason, I don't recommend that you guys do it that way. I recommend that you do it the proper way, like I showed you before. But just putting it out there, that's how I often do it. And it works for me thus far. So I don't know. I'm sure it's not the best way, but no. Okay, so decals on there. Then I can just put on some MacLeod. Just screw this off. I don't need a lot. There's a application brush on here. You can just brush a little bit onto there. Not as much brush as we are just kind of dabbing it on there, because if you brush it then you might move the decal to where you don't want it if you've already got a place where you want it. And then we can use the Q-tip. This is the wet end that I've been using with water. This is the dry end. You can use the dry end to just dab up some of that extra on there, just to get rid of that. And that's pretty much it. So then, as this Mr. MacLeod reacts with the decal, it's going to just basically melt the decal onto the part to conform to this shape. Now this is over around this corner and over the top of this curved surface. So that's basically exactly what this stuff is for. As you guys probably saw, the decal was already on there around this shape pretty fine without that, but this will just make it so that it's adhered to that shape very well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's basically the basics of using Waterslide decals. It's pretty simple, and the results are much better than stickers, and comparable to dry transfers. Like I said, the process is a little bit different. I just tend to trust Waterslides more. Just going back to this one here, you can see how that one's going pretty fine, and this one, that's pretty much it. Alright guys, so I've been working on the decals now, and they're pretty much just all done, I think. And I just want to say first off that I'm sorry that the picture quality is going to be a little bit different for this last clip of this video. For some reason my main lens that I usually use is not working, and I think I'm going to have to send it into a repair shop. Hopefully not, but because that's going to really put a dent in my video production, as I've got a lot of stuff to record. But hopefully that can be avoided, but seems like right now that lens is not going to be working at all. So this is my other lens, which is a wide angle lens. So as you can see, it's zoomed in a bit here because it's usually too wide, and then that makes it a little bit dark. I could use this light, but that's a little bit too harsh. So anyway, I'm gonna brighten this up a little bit in the post, so hopefully it's looking okay. Anyway, the decals are all pretty much done. Once again, I was using mostly some of these sets. These are either just some like Zaku markings, and these just kind of generic markings. As you can see, I didn't really use a whole lot of these, but just some of them. And here's a look. Something I want to show you first is this one here on the shield, because you have to excuse me too, I'm also not as quick with working with the focus on this lens as well. this decal I put here, this is where the mark softer is going to be really helpful, because I put it over that line there, and if you can see, I hope you can see it okay, the decal is sunk down into that line a little bit, because after sticking on the decal, I put some of this mark softer on it, and as I said before, it pretty much just melts the decal down into that groove. So now that that's melted in there, I can go back with my panel line accent color again and drop some more panel line color in there again, so that it looks like the decal is actually in that line. So hang on just a second, let me shake this up and then we'll do that. Okay, so just need to take a little bit of this and put it in there. There, over the top of that. Then after cleaning that up a little bit, now the brown line looks like it's actually there in the decal, or the decal is over the line, I guess I should say. I'm not really sure best way how I want to word that, but anyway, hopefully you can see what I mean. And now let's take a look at some of the decals that I actually put on the kit. So here on the chest, I got the 522 there. I took some people's advice and decided to put like the kill markings there on the front skirt. I just went with the 5 X's there, Xeon logo there, officer marking here on the thigh, along with that black band we put there. And the rest of it is just kind of some normal markings. There's a couple there on the chest, here on the side, these arrows denoting where the missiles are gonna come out. There's a couple there on the side skirt. A couple here around the feet, not too much. I was trying to go pretty minimal with the decals. A couple there, a couple here, and then this one here I put my friend's name, who I'm making this for, or at least his artist name, Tamori, Akagai Tamori. So use those letters there. I think that looks pretty cool. I would have liked to have put Akagai there as well, but didn't have enough A's. There's only 2 A's, so needed 3 of them. Could have bought another set, I guess, of the decals, but it's okay, I guess. Anyway, a couple more just small decals here on the back. That's pretty much it. Like I said, pretty minimal. Now basically the only thing it needs is just some top coat. That's pretty much it. I didn't decide to put any decals on the funnels at all, also because like there's the closed versions and the open versions, so I would have had to have 12 of the same small decal, and I just didn't have 12 of anything on here, so just kind of decided against that for the time being. And it's okay. I don't, like I said, just with the whole kit, wanted to go keep it pretty minimal with the decals. Didn't want to like make it like all decaled to the max. So still following a pretty simple, more stylistic look for this. So that's pretty much it for this, guys, and that's actually going to be the end of this series for now. Now there are more tutorials and stuff that I want to do, so I think I'm going to keep those in the same like Gunpla Building series. But this is what, episode 11, so episodes 1 through 11 are basically just going to be focused on this kit, and then future ones will be probably more just standalone stuff, I guess. So the next video where you'll see this kit is I'm gonna do like I already did the review for it when it was just out of box built, but now I want to do like the actual just like a showcase after I've got the matte top coat on everything. Then basically just like showing it in like a few different poses and giving you guys a good 360-degree view and everything. So hopefully I should be able to get that video out soon. If my lens is going to be in the shop for a while, or if I need to get a new lens, I don't know, I hope not, but if there's some problem, it might be a little bit until I'm able to get that out. But thank you guys for watching. I hope this series has been interesting and helpful for some of you guys. Hopefully you were able to learn a couple things. Just once again, I'm no expert, so just take the things that I've said in this series as you will, and try them if you want, or don't, or find your own ways to do stuff, or find other people's ways to do stuff. There's a lot of really good builders out there, so that's about it. Thanks guys for watching, and a lot of videos on the way. Gonna be maybe a few less if I can't get my camera working soon, but definitely a lot of cool stuff coming. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.